everybody. Welcome back. I am so glad you're joining us today. We are still on our survival camp. Yesterday, we talked about fire, and we talked about one of the keys to survival. We have a key of survival with our shelter, right? And we talked about what the shelter was. Yesterday, we talked about the importance of survival and how you need a fire. Fire is really, really important. If you don't have fire, you can't stay warm. And in the spirit, fire actually is that, remember, tinder, which is our prayer, kindling, which is our Bible, and firewood, which is our worship. So we had that yesterday. Today, we're going to continue and we're talking about survival. So what is something else that we would need if you were in a survival situation? If we are out in the wilderness and we're alone, you might have some hints. I don't know, maybe over here, over my right shoulder here. You would actually need to know how to survive with basic first aid. Now just take a look here. Okay, this, everybody knows what this is right now, right? Oh my goodness. The smell of hand sanitizer right now. Oh my goodness. How about this one? You need some Band-Aids. You got a cut. You need to have something with you at all times. You know, when we go camping, and I love to camp, one of the things that we take with us is our first aid kit. Look at all this stuff in here. We've got lots and lots of things in our first aid kit because at any point in time, we need to be able to take care of ourselves. God gave us the knowledge to be able to take care of ourselves. Did you know that you don't just have to take care of your body, which we do need to do that, but we also need to take care of our heart. We need to take care of our heart. We need a happy heart. You should have gotten one of these in the mail, correct? This was another one of your surprises. I'm praying, if you, by the way, did not get your Survival Junior Camp 2020 little envelope, contact us. Let us know so we can get one to you. But inside your package, you should have received a happy heart. And that's what we want, our happy hearts. But there are some times where our hearts are not very happy. And what do we do with those? We need to be able to have some first aid for our hearts. And so I want to talk today about a couple of situations where you might have to administer some first aid to your own heart. One of those is, how do we deal with stress? You know, this is a stress ball. You get stressed and you squeeze your stress ball, right? Let's not squeeze our heart too hard. But you want to be able to deal with stress. So during your situations, if you're physically dealing with some stress, hey, you now have a stress ball that you can use. Did you know that you can, I believe some of you have made a stress ball here at Living Waters before, and you can do that too while you're at home. But when you're dealing with stress, maybe it's the thoughts that you have about sickness. Maybe it's not even being sick, but it's just the thought that you might get sick. Maybe your stress comes from worry. Maybe it comes from, you go outside right now and you see some people that are wearing masks. It doesn't feel real good. Maybe stress comes from some fighting. Maybe you and your siblings have had some issues, and maybe you have been, you just have been arguing just a little bit. It causes stress. I just want to read something to you, okay? Stress is what you feel. I love this definition. So I'm just going to look. I have a little thing here. I just want to read this to you. Stress is what you feel when you're worried or uncomfortable about something. This worry in your mind can make your body feel sick, but it can also make you feel angry, frustrated, scared, or afraid. When we have stress in our lives, we can begin to feel angry or scared. We can feel worried and anxious. But the Bible has a prescription for everything. And so I brought my Bible today. I hope you have yours. And I hope your quiet times have been going well. I just want to read to you. I want you to think about a couple of things, okay? Remember Philippians 4:6, and it says, be anxious for nothing. Did you hear that? Don't be worried about anything, but in everything, by prayer and petition. We're going to talk about those two words today. Prayer and petition. With thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard and keep your hearts. So we want to talk today about when you're dealing with stress, what do you do when you're anxious and things are stressful and your heart is maybe not happy? In fact, maybe your heart has a Band-Aid on it. Now, I'm not talking about a physical Band-Aid, but I'm talking about the things that you're feeling inside. They're not really feeling the greatest. If that's you, we have a prescription in the Word of God. Do not be anxious for anything. Don't be worried about anything. So what is the prescription? It says by prayer and petition. And did you know that they're two different things? Prayer we talked about yesterday. Prayer is all of our emotions, whatever we're feeling, we get to say in that tender, remember, all of our prayer time, the little things that bother us, you get to talk to God about those things. He cares for you. God, the God who made the stars that are up in the sky, the God of the universe, cares for you. He wants you to be at peace. And so he's given you a way to do that. Sometimes, I've got to tell you, sometimes I want to talk things out with somebody. Not everybody is always there every time. But I know God has promised in his word, he will never leave us and he'll never forsake us. Think about that. God, when we talked about the shelter and God coming inside, right? God comes to dwell inside of us. When he does that, we get to have a relationship. We have somebody to talk to all of the time. And some of us need to talk quite a bit. Others of us not so much, and that's okay. But you get to share with him. So it says by prayer. Prayer is actually all the communication that you have with God. That would be in that prayer category. But a petition, if you're talking about like even in government, a petition is something that you take to God and request of him. A petition, you take something and you request, you're asking somebody to do something. So in the Bible, it says with prayer, you're talking to him about everything anyways, and then petition. And a petition, you're going to ask God something. But it's interesting. He doesn't just say, ask God. He's not a genie in a bottle, okay? He's not going to, hey, you get 3 wishes. That's not who God is. When we petition God, it says to ask with thanksgiving. God, I thank you. God, I thank you for living waters. God, it stinks that I can't go to camp this summer. But God, I thank you that we do have something. And I thank you, God, that next year we're going to be able to look forward to something together. We're camping in together and that's fun. But God, I really would like to be together with my kids. We get to ask, God, would you please open that door for us to be able to get back together? Maybe it has to do with school. Maybe at school, you have a hard time. Maybe math just isn't your thing. Maybe reading isn't your thing. Maybe you're in the middle of taking a test and it's bringing you anxiety. Now we're in summertime, so I can't imagine that much of this is what you would be struggling with right now. But you need to have some things then in your back pocket to be able to use for when you do go back to school. Okay? And you can ask God in the middle of a test, God, I need your help right now. God, thank you. I thank you that you've given me a teacher and I've learned a lot of this stuff. God, I ask you for your help right now. The third part about dealing with stress, and I'm going to tell you, this is a hard one, okay? Miss Pam can have a hard time with this one, but it's the last part of that petition. It says with thanksgiving, and we talked about kind of how to petition. God, thank you for, what I'm asking. But at the same time, if we are cultivating, if we're growing inside of us, thanksgiving, for you're giving thanks. Thanksgiving really means giving thanks. How many times have I gone, man, it stinks that I can't go to church right now. Man, it stinks that I can't go to camp. Man, this is not even fun anymore. It was fun when it first started. We got to stay home and I didn't have to go to school. But man, this isn't fun. That's complaining. Giving thanks says, God, I thank you that I get to be at home right now. God, I thank you that you're changing some things on the outside. God, thank you. When we make Thanksgiving the thing that we do first before we complain, that is hard to do, but that's what changes our inside. That changes our hearts. That makes the stress a little bit easier to remove. Does that make sense? So we will have a happy heart and not a heart that's hurting. Thanksgiving is a key in that, and how we look at things. The second and last thing that I want to talk about today is we talked about how do we deal with stress on our hearts? How do we deal with anxiety? Anxiety is a weird word, but it just means worry. Okay? How do we deal with hurts? There are sometimes, I don't know about you, but I've been hurt before. So here's a little tidbit that not a lot of people know. I fell one time on my bike. Okay, I was just learning to ride a bike, so I was pretty young. But I fell and I skinned my knee bad. I mean, it was bad. I still have a scar there. Do you know, anytime people can get hurt at any point in time? That's why we have doctors and nurses and all of these amazing and great people. But what happens when our hearts get hurt? And I'm not talking about your physical heart. When I say your heart, remember we talked about the shelter? Remember we talked about that tent being your shelter and how that's really your heart? And when we ask Jesus into our heart, did you know that your tent, your heart can get hurt sometimes? And people can say things, they can do things, and they might mean it. They might be bullying, honestly. Sometimes at school, have you ever been bullied? Has anybody ever done it? Maybe it's a brother or a sister. Have you felt like somebody was just making you try to do something you didn't want to do? That's not right. And it hurts our hearts. It hurts on the inside. Your hurt on the inside can come out in a bunch of different ways. It can come out like anger. You can get angry about it. Did you know the Bible does not say don't be angry? This one is an interesting one. In it's actually Ephesians. Ephesians 4, it says, if you were angry, if you're angry, it doesn't say you're never going to get angry. It doesn't say don't get angry. It says, if you're ever angry, do not sin. You ever wanted to hurt something when you got angry? Yeah, that's what God was talking about. He said, and then he says, if you're angry, don't sin. And then he said, do not let the sun go down on your anger. Don't go to bed angry. If you're feeling that anger inside, what is something you can do? Well, first, you have two sides to a Band-Aid, okay? If you've ever had a Band-Aid on your knee, you've got one side that's sticky, right? And then you have another side that's sticky. Well, in your heart, when you have anger, there are two things that you can do. Number one, you talk to God about it. God, I am so angry right now. My brother broke my remote. Or how about this one? My brother blamed me for breaking something I didn't break. I didn't even do it, and I'm getting blamed for it. You can talk to God just like that. Did you know that? He cares that bothers you. Maybe it's about a friend and they were supposed to come over and they said, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I don't want to. And that really hurt. Like, you didn't do anything. What did I do? Well, you can go to God and you can go, God, I am really, really hurt. This hurts on the inside and it makes me angry. And then you can say, the first thing you do is you talk to God. The second thing you do is you forgive them. And it loosens that Band-Aid right up. Okay? When you are hurt, you want to talk to God and then you want to forgive that person. It does not mean that what they did was right. It doesn't mean that they should have yelled at you. No, that's not what, it doesn't mean that it was okay for them to bully you. That's not what that means. It means that you're going to choose to say, I forgive them, God. In fact, I'm not going to hang on to it. I'm not going to hang on to it and let it hurt my heart. So you pray, you forgive, and then guess what? I don't know about you, but I've gotten angry before. And I've done and said things when I was angry that were not right. And so what you want to do, you want to apply first aid to yourself. And that's where you say to God, God, this is what hurts. God, this is what they did, and I forgive them. But God, you know what? When they did that, I said some things. I called them names, and I shouldn't have. So God, please forgive me. Forgive me for that. When you do that, it peels this off. Your heart's been hurt. You try to cover it up and you try to keep yourself safe. You've applied all of the first aid that you could possibly apply. But now you've got a heart. And the fourth thing that you do is you give God thanks. You know, I got to tell you, when things happen, I can't say that the only thing that I've done is gotten angry. There are times when I have complained about it. There's a verse of scripture that I don't know. Have you ever thought, man, I just wish God would have left some of those scriptures out? This would probably be one of them, but he knew what our flesh would say. So in Philippians, again, Philippians 2:14, it says, do everything. You ready for this? Let's insert something maybe you don't like to do. Do the dishes. Do the taking out of trash. Do your homework. That's not right now, Miss Pam. Don't talk about that in summertime, right? Do everything without complaining or arguing or murmuring. Think about that. Do you all the time, you're happy all the time and you never ever argue, complain, do anything? Is that you? I know me. I have been guilty. I'm guilty sometimes of actually complaining. So maybe you don't need to ask for forgiveness for anger, but maybe you need to ask the Lord to forgive you for complaining, for arguing. This one is really hard right now, guys, because everybody's stress is up, right? We have hearts, and our hearts right now have been hurting for a while. We've been in isolation. We haven't been able to go to school. We've not been able to go to church. We can't go to the store. Everybody's hurting, and it causes everybody, right? Maybe you've not gotten angry, but maybe you have been one to complain. So, first thing we can do is pray. Second thing we do is forgive. The third thing we need to do is ask forgiveness where something we've done wrong. Angry, complaining. Maybe you just said, you know what? I'm not going to do it. You know what they call that? This one's a hard one to swallow too. That's called rebellion. And that's something that we need to make sure in our hearts that we don't do. If somebody says to do it, it's one of those, and it's, you want to be able to talk to the people that are close to you, okay? Talk to those safe people to talk to, those adults that God has put in your life. You want to the number 4, give thanks. Again, we're going back to kind of what we did with the stress. Some of the stuff that relieves stress also relieves our hurts. Give thanks. It is hard when you are hurting. Have you ever cut yourself? Have you ever cut yourself? When you're bleeding, it's hard to turn around and just smile. Jeez, this is not happy. I'm not happy right now, right? So it's not always going to be a pleasant thing. Giving thanks when you're hurting. That's why we go through and we forgive first, and then we ask forgiveness, and we get our heart, we start pulling off a little bit of that hurt, because ultimately we want to give thanks because God is still good. The circumstances are not good. That's called joy. Did you know that? Happiness is based on what happens to you. Happiness happens to you, and all the things that happen to us are not good. I've had some things happen to me that were not pleasant. But joy comes from a place of thanks. It does not come from circumstances. Joy comes from God. Joy comes from that place of being with the Lord and knowing He's good. And that's all the time. Even when we're hurting, He's still good. And He cares about us. Those are the things with giving thanks. Last thing. The last one is more of a challenge. Okay? Because the Bible says, love God and love one another, right? This last one that I have for you is really a challenge to have a happy heart. It's a challenge for healing, but it's also a challenge that I'm going to challenge you with today. Okay? So here's your thing. Yesterday, I challenged you to go and have a quiet time. Today, I've got a challenge for you. This one has to do with the last one, and it is be kind. Can I tell you, when I have been hurt, when I have had somebody say something ugly about me, and some of it wasn't even true. I didn't do some of that. It wasn't nice. To be kind in return, Jesus said, when they're ugly and mean to you, you return it with kindness. Proverbs, remember that was one of the ones I said yesterday? Proverbs is a really good one to turn to get some wisdom in the Bible. Maybe that's where your quiet time came from yesterday. But in Proverbs, it says a soft answer turns away anger. I want you to think about that. Somebody's yelling, wow, how could you? And you respond, I'm really sorry. That wasn't what I meant to do. It actually takes and it turns that anger down. So I just want you to, being kind, did you notice it says love God, right? And love one another. What does it say love is? Love is patient first. That's hard to do. Patient and kind. I'm going to challenge, your challenge today is to do a random act of kindness. Okay? A random act of kindness is this. Random means you're just going to do it. Not because somebody told you to do it. It's cheating if they have to tell you to do it. That's not what I want. Random act of kindness is I want you to think of something that you can do that's nice to somebody, anybody. It could be a parent, a grandparent. It can be a brother, a sister. It could be a friend. Maybe it's a neighbor. You know, there's some beautiful flowers out right now, and we have to, we got to be careful about being close to one another, all that kind of crazy stuff. But I got to tell you, it doesn't mean that we can't take flowers to somebody. How can you be kind today? Maybe it's washing the dishes without having to be told. Maybe It's cleaning your room without having to be told. Random acts of kindness. What is something that's random? Means it could be anything. So your challenge today, in your home, in your neighborhood, I want you to do something that you normally maybe would grumble and complain about. Or maybe you normally wouldn't do it. Maybe you're not in charge of taking out the trash, but you go and do it anyway. It does something to the inside, guys. When we do stuff like that, it does something to our heart. Our heart starts being happy. I don't want to do that. That's not going to make me happy. You'd be surprised. Doing something for someone else that they weren't expecting, when you see that smile light up someone else's face, it does make your heart happy. It's hard. I didn't say it was going to be easy. I said it's going to be good. Okay? So that is my challenge for you today. Make sure watch your worship videos. We've had some fun skits. I want you to let us know how you've liked things so far. Okay? I want to hear about your random act of kindness. Share with me what it is that you've done. Maybe at the end of this video, maybe in a comment. I want you to share with me, what did you do to change your world? Guys, can I tell you something? I'm being very serious right now. Our world is hurting. There's a lot of people with sad hearts. Can you hear me? A lot of people. And I'm going to just share this with you. Here's a little secret that I learned, and I wish I would have learned it sooner. Hurting people hurt people. We get to change our world one person and one act at a time. I know I've challenged you with something, but I want you to share with me. I'm going to share this last story, and then I'm going to close. You ready for this? There was once a man, and he was walking down the beach, and there were a bunch of starfish, and they were all up on the beach, right? And when they stay out too long, they would die. They would dry out in the sun. He got to walking along, and he would pick one up, and he'd throw it back in. And he'd pick another one up, and he'd throw it back in. There were tons of them. And somebody said that they were walking along the beach, and they came to him, and they said, "Hey, there's no way you're going to be able to throw all these starfish back in." And he said, "Why are you doing that? Why are you picking them up? You're wasting your time." And the guy looked at him and he said, "You know what?" He picked up a starfish and he held it up and he tossed it and he said, "Made a difference to that one. Made a difference to that one." Every act of kindness that you do, God notices. God's the one who notices. And somebody else, it will change their world too. We want to change the world. That only happens. I can't change what's going on in the world right now, but I can change how I react. I don't want to just react to the craziness that's going on in this world. I want to respond with love, and I want to be kind. And that starts in my house. That starts with the people that I love. And then I reach out and I go outside of that circle. I go to the next circle. So I want to hear about your random act of kindness. What have you done today that's changed someone else? I want you to know we miss you and I love you. And if you need something, reach out to the person that's showing you this video. If they need something, have them reach out to us. We want you to know we're praying for you. If you have something specific, send it to us. Send us an email, give us a call, whatever we have to do. We're in this together, guys. I might not be able to be right there in front of you, but I promise you, we love you and we're praying for you. We will talk to you tomorrow. Come back and see us tomorrow, okay? Don't miss it. We're going to have a whole bunch of fun in store. We'll see you then.